Healthcare Movies. This is your first time tuning in. Welcome. We're glad to have you. If you are watching on YouTube, please make sure to hit subscribe, hit like, and leave a comment below. If you're listening on one of the other podcast platforms, follow, subscribe, and please leave a comment or a review. It helps us big time. This is episode 100. Believe it or not, episode 100. I'm Jay Watson.
And I'm Kathy Castle.
And Kathy and I are thrilled to be joined by author Miss Amy McKiernan, who is going to talk about some of her life struggles and how she's navigated and how she's got a story. So we're always here. Eastern Shore Talk's always here for a story. So she's going to talk about how she's now using her story to serve others. So Amy, welcome to Eastern Shore Talk.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And I feel honored to be a part of your 100th episode. So thanks for having me on. And so I'm Amy McKiernan. I'm an author, and I'm also the director of employee relations for 5 schools. And that's where I work with adults with communication and things like that. Mm-hmm. And I came on to talk about my book. It's called More Than a Survivor: 8 Keys to Overcoming Sexual Assault and Finding a Path to Living a Fulfilled Life. And I wrote this book because it's such an important conversation. Growing up, I was a loved kid. I had a big family, a lot of support, happy kid, creative kid. Loved to perform and play and dress up and all those things. And as I was going through life, things took a turn. And I experienced my first rape when I was 15 in high school. And, after that happened, it's like I lost my light, that spark, that creativity, that passion for performing. The light inside me was dimmed. And I think that it's a common experience for so many of us. Mm-hmm. And it's like we know that it's a common experience, except you still feel so alone when you go through it. Yeah. And so, after that experience, my journey just became so hard. I was experimenting with drugs and alcohol and anything to numb all of it. It quickly went around my school. I became known, as the girl who was raped. And it was this all-consuming thing for me. And so not only did I lose myself, but I also started going down a very damaging path. And that path also led to other experiences with sexual abuse. And then it further led to me accepting, unhealthy relationships. Mm-hmm. And it was just such a tumultuous journey, and one that, I felt like I was never going to get out of. And it took a really long time to heal, and even when I healed a little bit, and then I would backtrack, and then I'd heal in this area, but then I would backtrack. And so, as an adult now, on the other side of it and going through that healing journey, I wrote this book to help others. I really believe that these things deserve a voice. And I really want my book to inspire other people to, 1, feel less alone, and 2, understand that you can do more than survive those things. So it's called More Than a Survivor because I really do believe that there is more to life than just surviving these things. You don't have to identify as just a survivor of this, right? You can identify as someone who's truly overcome it, and get your power back and get your choices back and gain control of your life again. And that's such a powerful thing. And so, I wrote this book. I have these 8 keys that I, you know, discovered through my journey. I didn't really know what they were until I was writing the book, and then I was able to name them. Um, but it's a book that has these 8 keys to healing in a very deep way. In the book, there's this reflective journal that the readers can download to also connect to their own story, which I think is really important. And also, I provide the perspectives of my dad and my sister, like two people from my support system. So it's also a book that is for allies, and for people to better understand their journey and see how it's all intertwined. Um, so I think it's really special. And, I'm just wanting to get it out there to help as many people as possible because it is a very common experience that we all have. And it does deserve a voice, and people do deserve to not feel so alone in it.
So I know, Amy, you responded to a lot of my posts, kind of advertising for this
Mhm.
episode, and of course, my journey didn't really start until I was 40, and I can look back at the the most pivotal time from my trauma healing was the day I told someone out loud.
Mm.
I said the words out loud. So there's that. So and as I've kind of gone through my journey, of course, I looked up statistics and all these kind of things, and I was staggered. I was obviously I lived it, so I was aware that it went on. Obviously when you're I was 6 or 7 when it happened to me. I was fairly young, so you're not thinking at 6 or 7. I wonder if anybody else is going through this,
Right.
let alone 15 or 30 or whatever. And you, I looked up various stats, and they're slightly different, but basically they say that one in 3 women and 1 in 6 men will experience sexual abuse of some kind in their lifetime in the United States, and that only 30% are reported to police, and that number drops to about 20% when the abuser is someone you know or the abuse happens on a college campus. Only about
Oh,
20% of those cases are
yeah.
reported to police. So it's something that's very prevalent in our country, even more so than I ever thought.
Yeah.
Um, and you talked a little bit about, I know for me, boundaries
Mhm.
were all scrambled. Um, and as some of the research I've done, they talk about depending on A, whether you're male or female, B, at what age it occurred to you, and C, who was the abuser. Those things all have variations to how it affects your boundaries or lack of boundaries. I know when I was younger, when I was first getting romantically involved with women, I I lacked boundaries. I was hypersexual because I had known that as part of my identity when I was very young. So I latched onto that for a while. Now as I got older, the pendulum swung the other way, and I had um, sexual anxiety where every intimate experience was I was hesitant, and I was like, oh, are they doing this for the right reasons? And so it was the boundaries were all out of whack, and it's
Mhm.
because especially in my case where it was family members, people I'm supposed to automatically trust.
Mhm.
How am I supposed to trust, you know, ro- potential romantic partners, even, well into my adulthood? So, um, I know when we spoke, we both kind of take the same approach where we don't, um, your book even says more than a survivor. Well, I've never referred to myself as a sexual abuse survivor. I always say I experienced it. It was a part of my journey because it's not that there was a time where I identified when I was younger and didn't know any better, but I don't identify as that. I'm even hesitant to talk about it in big grand ways on the podcast because I don't want it to be about the stuff. I want it to be about how I'm using it moving forward and how I'm carrying it. So I love that your book is called More Than a Survivor, because there are stages, and it's not a straight line, and I always use the highway reference where you're going down the highway, you get off of an exit, you get back on, and you know so it's you get to a point where hopefully we can navigate it, because it's
Mhm.
just navigating. That's the neutral, Kathy, that I kind of talk about a lot. Get to that neutral, and then if we're really really lucky and we're further along in our healing journey, we can now actually use it as a tool. It's now our partner and how we serve others. Um, and I tell people all the time, and I think you and I even spoke about this. I'm thankful for all of it. I don't. I wish my 6-year-old self did not have to experience it, but now at no longer 6 or 7 years old, it's my tool. It's what I bring to this podcast, and my experiences, not only specifically with that trauma, but just the overall and general self care journey for me, that kind of partnered with getting through that trauma, but helps me in other ways in my life as well. So love the title of the book, and I'm gonna grab that book as soon as we get done. I'm gonna find it on Amazon or wherever, and get a good read.
When did that book became available?
So it was out for pre-sale August 2025 and
So
officially
new,
out.
really
Yeah,
new
so
for
it's
you.
new and I self-published too. Because I've never done this before. So, I just self-published. I wanted to get it out there. I didn't want to wait around and try to like get it officially published or anything. So it was actually a pretty easy experience to do that. And it's out and it's available pretty much anywhere now. And but yeah, it took me like 6 years to write it. And writing it was its own healing journey
Yeah,
too. It's like I made this decision to do it and then I started to do it, and then I'm like, "Oh, wow. I can see that I'm really avoiding this one part," or like, "Oh, I'm identifying that there's still this impact there that I really didn't realize." Um, and so that was also like this part of my own journey was getting it out on paper, and I liked something you said earlier about like saying it out loud, right? Like that's part of the self-care is getting it out from inside of you, and whether that's writing it down, but there is something to be said about saying it out loud, and whether that's to a therapist or a friend or a support group or whoever that might be, but giving it a voice, giving it language and saying like, this is what happened, and it's like you release this like heavy heaviness inside your body by
yeah,
just saying it out loud and realizing there's no shame in saying it out loud. And so,
Mhm.
I had already talked about a lot of it. There are some things that are in this book that I never even told my parents about until I wrote the book. And so, that it was another piece of like really just putting it all out there. It's very vulnerable and it's a very hard read, because there are a lot of experiences in there that I kept to myself. My parents never knew about. They were devastated when they found out
Mhm.
because if they had known, it probably would have gone a lot different. Um, but I wanted to put it all out there because I know that I'm not alone in these experiences. And I think that when people can identify with it and be like, oh, wow, like I can relate to that one, it's so important and it gives them a little bit of room for hope and healing too.
yeah. I think I talked earlier about the lack of having people report it to police. I urge anyone, if you're listening and you've experienced stuff like this and you've not said anything, or if maybe you know someone who's confided in you that maybe you're kind of holding their confidence with that information, I urge people, yes, report it to police. It's against the law no matter what. Report it, but if you need to first find a friend or a family member or someone that you can trust to go with you to the police to report it, do that. Take a partner. If you can find a local support group. I don't, Kathy, I don't know if you know of any any support groups locally, and we may want to talk about that for our local listeners, but wherever you're listening from, if just Google sexual abuse or sexual assault resources in your area, talk to someone there. I'm sure they've got connections to police, or they'll do their thing with counseling or whatever to kind of ease you into that process as well. But Amy,
Amy,
talk about. Go ahead, Kathy. I'm sorry.
no, you guys have such good information. I don't want to, stop you from telling your story. I'm thinking back to high school when you were in high school, and I'm thinking rather this happens to somebody at whatever age. It's horrible, but you're this 15-year-old. I'm thinking there's a lot of 15-year-olds or people that say nothing, and then in your case, it sounds like it was known. I mean, I can imagine both sides of that have complexities and trauma associated to, whether you feel alone and you can't tell anybody, or that everybody knows. I mean,
Right.
what a hard place to be, as
Yeah.
a 15-year-old, trying to find your identity in your friend group and to belong and not to want to hurt your parents.
Right.
I don't
Right.
have anything to say about that. I'm sure there's a lot of young people, in high school and even younger that have had the same experience, like you said, Jay.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say one thing about that is like, I had no intention of reporting it. This was a friend. We were drinking. So I was feeling very guilty about that.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to say anything. But there were other people there who, kind of walked in on things. And I went to school Monday after this weekend had happened with just like, okay, I was like a shell of who I was before, and I was just quiet. But he was already bragging about it. And then I think I never really knew how people found out the other side, because I hadn't said anything, but people found out both sides of the story. And I remember, just to touch on, like, if you know someone who's going through this, to speak up. I was approached by a girl who I wasn't friends with, who actually didn't really like me very much. And we didn't get along. But she knew him, and she point blank asked me, "What did he do to you?" And I was like, I told her what I could remember. I don't think I labeled it anything, but she called my brother, and that's how it came out. And
Wow.
so a note about, like, if you hear something, say something, because she took such a big step for me that day.
Wow.
Like,
wow. An unlikely source, right?
Exactly. And then my brother called my dad, and that's how, by the time I got home, my secret wasn't my secret anymore, but I was able to get the support from my family. We reported it to the police, the hospital, and all of that, which was a really hard experience. It was a really hard experience. But it needs to be reported. It just does, and
so many layers of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even though that is what needs to happen, that in itself is a whole nother traumatic experience.
It is. There's no lying about that. It is. And, and also, and I'll just say another note about this is, like, for those out there who have had this experience happen a long time ago, and maybe you didn't report it, or maybe you did, and whatever happened, this book is also for you. It really is. It doesn't matter how long ago. It's never too late to heal. And that's just such an important piece to me, is that no matter how long ago, whatever trauma it is that you're dealing with happened, it's never too late to heal. And so I just think that's so important, because there's so many of us who have had these experiences and have just pushed it down, never talked about it, or never addressed it. And once you start allowing it to surface and come out and work through it, you find all the areas in life that it's impacting you. And, and then you gain back control. It's like you don't even realize that you didn't have control until you realize you didn't have control, and so
I love it.
You find some semblance of control. And you're like, oh, it wasn't like this before. Yeah.
But you know, Jade, what she said is so important, and it's really about you as well. It's never too late to heal. You know, you may have found your healing journey a little later than we would have loved for you to find that healing journey. But gosh, thank God you did.
Right.
Amy, I was 45 when I said the words for the first time out loud.
Oh my gosh.
Remember, it happened at 6 years old to me.
Yeah.
So for 39 years, not a word to anybody. I take that back. I went to my mom because it was not my parents who did it. It was different family members. I went to her to basically report it to her, and she was an addict, and there was other issues, in the family as well. So I wasn't heard. So now I zipped it for 39 years and never said a word. So
That's a lot
yes,
of
love that. Now, how big of a fan of Law and Order SVU are you?
I mean, it's been a while since I've watched it, but I used to watch it. I used to watch it when I was younger.
So now I love how you said, both of you, it's never too late to start healing. Now, legally, the statute of limitations on sexual abuse varies from state to state. So if you decide, even if it was been a while since you've had the events happen, look into legally. If you do report it to the police, they'll tell you if it's beyond that. However, that's, to me, although yes, that's important, the legal side of things, the more important thing is the healing part, because whether you report it to the police or not, you need to heal either way. So yes, whether you're 45 or whether you do it the day of, yes, tell somebody. I mean, Kathy, we've had other topics where that stigma, especially with sexual abuse, where a man is involved, like myself, men really don't talk about it. Like those numbers, the 30% that that are reported to police, I didn't even look into breakdown of male to female. I'm sure that number is higher for women, although it's still lower than it should be. That number is probably really, really low for men because of,
right,
just being a male, that whole thing. So, but again, just on average, just think about the guys you go and play golf with. There's 6 or 8 of you. Probably somebody in that group has been sexually abused at some point in their life as men. Somebody. So, like we've talked about, Kathy, with other topics, it's getting less and less of a stigma, just like the big umbrella of mental health. But it's still one of those subcategories that anything where you hear the term sexual in it is going to be a little taboo anyway. So you put sexual and abuse in the same back to back, that's why only 30% get reported to police. So,
Amy, do you think that social media complicates this more in today's world?
I can imagine it does. I mean, when I wrote this book, I remember thinking to myself many times, I am so glad there wasn't social media at this time. I feel for society today with the social media piece. Social media is so powerful and wonderful in so many ways, and it's so detrimental in a lot of ways, and I do think that piece complicates it too, because it's not just like my situation went around the whole school.
Well, the social media, well, I guess I won't point out. Maybe I shouldn't point out which social media, but I will say I have 4 kids and they're adults at this point, they're 19 to 27, but there have been social medias that I've confiscated at different times in my mean mom mode. And the private chats and the videos or pictures that young people are sharing, I mean, just shook me. So I can imagine.
And that can be sexual abuse. Just that. Yeah.
And I can imagine, somebody, in their underdeveloped mind, or even not in their underdeveloped mind, is meaning no harm, I guess, and put something out there that's just really gonna destroy another person, thinking it's funny, or like you said, people are experimenting with alcohol, and this is funny, and it's not
Mhm.
funny. And I don't know how we fix that in our culture, but it just, as a mom, it just terrifies me.
Yeah, no, I have 2 kids myself, and, me too, because I think that society and young kids are so numb to it now that it's like people's what can get the most clicks and likes and laughs, and
And you can
people's
say
pain doesn't
it,
matter. Yeah,
you can say it all day long.
yeah,
Don't do
it's
this. If you
yeah,
do this, X, Y, and Z. Yet people want to belong. People want to be in a
mhm,
thread, and
yeah, yeah,
I think social media makes it harder for people to report. And here's why: because Kathy, we've talked about the social media
mhm,
aspect of self care. What do we talk about? Everybody puts their best foot forward on social media. No one wants to put their bad stuff on social media. So now we're just exacerbating this. You have potentially had this horrible thing happen to you. You're, not only are you not going to tell your friends and your family probably, but you're now presenting this whole other image on social media that's the opposite of what's really going on. So
mhm,
now you've got these two things that are battling, and the part of you that draws you to the let me show the positive on social media wins out in the younger crowd anyway. Well, I mean, probably older folks, quote unquote older adults as well, but um, yeah, just the social media era in our society has probably made it more difficult to because they're in that headspace of wanting to show their best on social media, and but b if someone were to find out somehow and blast it on social media, they don't want that end of it to happen at all.
right,
So,
mhm.
however, if you swing the pendulum like in a place where Amy and I are seemingly at this point, now social media becomes our friend because Amy
yeah,
and I can now use social media to say, here's my book,
We should
here's my
start.
podcast, here's the basis of why I do the podcast, here's why I wrote this book, and that's our service. So
yeah,
I do
there's,
want to
there's
get back to her book, to Amy's book.
yes, yeah.
Did you? I don't know if you had a question about it, Jay, but I'm
Well, I was
just,
just going to ask because you said the eight steps.
yeah,
I was
I
going
like
to
want
ask
to know about some
what are the
steps.
steps because that's
That-
kind of that's the
That's
juicy
the
stuff for us.
that's a
Like,
self
what did
care.
you do? What did you do to get
yeah.
to where you are? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I won't go through all the 8 keys, but I will say that one of them is focused on self care. Now, granted, all of them are really self care when you think about it, but there is one that's specifically just self care. What does it mean? When you hear self care, sometimes it's like eye roll. Oh, yeah, self care, the importance, but it is, I mean, as you guys know, this is like your podcast is so important, right? And taking that time for self-care, figuring out what that looks like for you. And part of that in my book, my keys of self-care is telling somebody and having a support system. And so like these are all, I have a key that's focused on it, but then all the keys really do tie into self-care, like solidifying a support system,
Right.
you know getting the power of choice back is like one of my favorite ones that I write about, because it's all about realizing that you do get to have power of your life and your choices again. And when you experience something like sexual assault, those choices were ripped away from you without, just like that, like done. And so you can often, at least in my experience, feel like life is happening to you instead of you are living your life. And so getting the power of choice back, realizing that I actually have control of this. I can choose to heal. I can choose to pave a new path for myself. And you had mentioned a highway earlier, but I compare it to paving a new road,
Mhm.
right? When you're paving a new road, it's not easy. It doesn't take, it takes a lot of time. You hit boulders, you backtrack, you stall. It's bumpy, it's hard. You have to chip away sometimes, and it goes very slow. But the more you keep working at it, the more you keep making that one small choice at a time toward your healing, that path becomes smoother. And then eventually you're driving down it without a second thought. And so um I think that's one of the, it's called pave your new path of choice. That's one of the keys that I think no matter where you are in your journey, you can just start there, revisit there, go back there, because it's all about making small, sustainable choices that eventually become bigger choices. But just what can you do in this moment toward what you want, toward your healing? Or what should you choose not to do in this moment, right? What should you choose to not put into your body, or who should you choose not to be around, And so, all of my keys are, if you look at the big picture, centered around, it's all self-care. But I think that, there's pave your new path of choice. I talk about like internal gardening, right? And that's all about finding the roots of things, right? Like
I like that. I've never heard it said.
yeah. Yeah, I'm very visual, so I like to paint a picture of what I'm talking about.
I really like that term.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like, you think about it, if there's a weed in your garden and you just
we probably all have so many weeds.
Oh yeah. And you just like snip off the top, it's gonna come back. Right? Like, you have to get to the root of things. And so often we don't, right? Because like, okay, if I just like cut the top off, pretend everything's fine, it's great. But then the weeds come back and they suffocate your garden, and there you go. And so and how do you get to the root of them? Well, you have to care for the soil. It's actually funny that I talk like that, because I'm really bad at real gardening, but I'm not, like, anybody who knows me is like, but internal gardening I can do. But you have to care for the soil. You have to handle with care. You don't just rip it out with all your force, because you probably didn't get all the root, right? And so each key, I like to paint a very clear picture of what I'm talking about. I feel like they're very sustainable, very relatable. So no matter who you are, you can do them. You don't have to be top tier education. You don't have to have all the money in the world. Like, anyone can do these keys, and you can revisit them. You can take your time with them. You can do them in any order you want.
So it sounds like it's a lot of self-reflection within your keys.
Yes. And that's why I have the journal too, is that throughout the book, there's prompts, and you can visit the journal, and you really just take a moment to pause and think about, what is this meaning to me right now? Where am I at right now? And then you can always revisit that.
Gardening. It's time for some gardening.
Yeah.
Go to the journal and do some gardening.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I love how, I mean, look, self-care movies is our tagline. So with self-care being front and center, and we talk about it all the time, and this goes way back to when this podcast started, Kathy. We talked about the tools in the toolbox, and self-care is like the Swiss Army knife in the toolbox. It can kind of help you get any, like if you're at home and you got something happens to you got to repair, you can go into your toolbox and get the Swiss Army knife and probably find something on there to fix a little bit of everything. It doesn't prevent anything. It doesn't solve everything, but it's both preventative to a degree, and it's also reactive, where it's like, okay, if I'm doing the self-care things consistently, if I'm doing the 8 steps, if I'm doing what each of us choose to be our self-care things, then we're strengthening our inner self. We've weeded the internal weeds as best as we can. So now, if whatever event happens, and there are always going to be events around the corner for all of us, we're now better equipped. That part. But it's also, okay, Jay had these events at 6 years old, and what got him headed in the right direction was focusing on Jay, the whys of Jay, the how and why those events were impacting everything else in Jay's life was my starting point. And once I got along, there's various varying points along the way where, it's like, okay, you'll do specific certain self-care things for specific events. I went through a childhood trauma, so mine were very self-reflective, whereas others might go through, a divorce or, whatever, having trouble with retirement or whatever, where theirs is not so laser focused on a specific thing, but it's like a general, like, overall wellness. Just, hey, let me eat well and sleep good and do the thing just to be healthy in general and kind of start from there. So I love how self care is front and center. And I think it really should, whether we've gone through sexual abuse or whether we've gone through whatever events in our life, that should be front and center regardless. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, when you're coming from a place of complete burnout and depletion, you can't rebuild and repair and become whole again. And like, that's my whole premise is becoming whole again, rebuilding something in a strong, solid way. And I compare at some point in the book of like a broken structure, right? You don't just fix it with some duct tape. Like you need to
Some try,
rebuild it.
right?
Yeah, like that's just gonna, next storm comes, it's gonna knock it right down, right? Like you got to rebuild it from the ground up. You have to give it a solid base and foundation and use quality materials and take your time, because then it's stronger. And when that next storm does come through, it can withstand it, you know? And actually, the cover of my book too is inspired by kintsugi, which is the Japanese art of repairing broken pottery.
Oh,
And
wow.
so they repair it by they take all those broken pieces, they don't get rid of them, they put them back together, and then they fill the cracks with gold. And then the piece is deemed to be more beautiful and more valuable than before. And that's how I want to like people to visualize, like, if when you feel broken, right, you can rebuild, you can put your pieces back together in a strong and beautiful way with care, right, that self-care, and be stronger than ever. And
like that.
you know, and so actually brought, like, look, see, you could see that's the cover of it. So
Yeah.
yeah, the gold, and it's so powerful, right? And I've had people tell me who read this book that, you know, people without experiences with sexual assault still found it incredibly helpful for just life or other trauma or whatever it was, because it's all relatable things to like rebuilding yourself as a person.
Well, we always say, what, Jay? The road always leads to self care, and self
Yeah,
care.
all roads lead to self care, and self care leads to all roads.
Yeah,
You know, it's
absolutely.
yeah. You talked a little bit about we're similar in that our events happened when we were younger in life. And Kathy and I've kind of discovered, even Kathy having been in the field, she's been in it for a while. Through this process of the podcast, we've discovered that childhood traumas of any kind just sit so very heavy because our brains aren't formed, and those are called the formative years for a reason, and we really latch on to those things and identify with them. And you described it as just a dark place where you just feel lost and just don't know where to turn. And it's and it's it and we don't, because we don't know what we don't know when we're younger, we don't realize how much we're struggling until much further down the line, where we, at least intellectually, we can understand that we're struggling, but for long periods of time we don't realize it.
Right.
So it's almost like we lose that time to address it, and it's like this big chunk of time that it's just kind of limbo, that like just was like almost kind of wasted, really.
Mhm.
But it's it's tough. And I know specifically with sexual abuse, it's such a violation in so many ways that it just um, you can't heal by yourself. You just can't. So again, I urge whoever, if you're listening, if you've experienced it, if you know somebody who has experienced it, please tell somebody, your pastor, a friend, a trusted family member, a counselor, whomever. Um, it's just vital.
Yep.
What does Kevin Hines say? A pain shared is a pain halved. It's easier for two people to carry the pain than it is for one. It's just with anything. You got 100 pounds of whatever. If two people are carrying it, it's lighter for each of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I talk a lot about the value of a support system and how it looks different for everyone. And that's okay, right? Like I had a supportive family That does not mean that everybody has a supportive family, and that's okay. That doesn't mean that you don't get to have a support system. There
It just
is
takes one person to be a
right,
support system.
exactly. Like there are so many options out there, and you can find it, and it's crucial that you do. It's just such an important piece of this.
Find your anchors.
Yes.
And it can be one, or like you said, it could be a bunch. And you might use each one of them for different reasons.
Exactly. Yeah.
I totally forgot what I was going to say, which is, it'll hit me after we're done talking. It's, I know I don't know about you, Amy, but I get uncomfortable talking about it, not because I'm worried about what people think about what I'm sharing at all. I'm like, I don't want to be that, at 58 years old, because I don't think of myself as the events. So I certainly don't want pity at this point. I'm thankful now that I have that tool. That's my tool. My trauma is my tool to serve. And I had a spiritual awakening several years ago where I was literally standing in the shower and I was speaking to a friend, and she was the first person that said, "You need to, you ever thought about using your story to serve others?" And it had never occurred to me. So I'm standing in the shower that night, and I had heard other folks talk about, they hear a voice from God, or they get a direct message from God. And it wasn't like that, but I was standing in the shower. I'm thinking to myself, if I'm sitting in a room of folks who have gone through the same thing, what would I say to them? And just this sudden and instant, very crystal clear purpose came to me. Like, okay, all my junk, all my stuff is now going to be what I use. All the times I ask myself, why? Now, well, in that moment, that like it was like in a second, all my whys were answered in a spiritual way, and it just one of the most incredible moments in my life. I just stood there in the shower and just bawled, like gratitude, just like and it's I can't serve without my journey. I don't have a tool without my story. My podcast doesn't exist without what I went through. So, I can't be anything but grateful now. I'm not grateful for at the time my 6-year-old self, and I've said this many times, and I will beat the drum about this till I'm going. My 6-year-old self is my hero. He's the one who persevered. He got me to where I am now, and I have to live a life now that makes what he went through worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. We can define ourselves as the power and healing and the growth with anything. And that's all about being an overcomer, right? Is like not defining yourself as the pain and the hurt. The pain and the hurt were there.
Yep. And they don't ever go away completely, ever.
Right? Like, yeah, but that's not who you are.
Grit. You guys have a whole lot of grit.
Yeah, it's not who you are.
Sometimes, you're strong because you have no other choice. You just don't have no other choice,
Yeah. So true.
And you gotta, it look, again, I was 45 years old when I said the words out loud. So as usual, I was a late bloomer in that way, along with some other ways in my life. But but it's never too late.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it was yesterday, 10 years ago, 38 years ago, whatever it was for me, doesn't matter. Tell somebody. I'm telling you, and it's not a switch. It's not like you tell somebody and that the switch to healing gets turned on. It's not like it doesn't work that way, but you'll feel different the next day. And, and it has to be the right time, the right place, the right person to tell.
Maybe as soon as you tell, Amy's gold starts flowing into the people.
But every time that I have said it in whatever context, it got a little bit easier and a little bit easier and a little bit easier. And now it's like talking about the weather. And I don't mean to belittle the circumstances at all. I'm just saying it doesn't scare me to talk about it, other than I don't want to be identified as it. But
Right.
I'm no longer worried about, stigmas or how I appear at all.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it takes time.
It does. It does.
And it's like Amy said, it's going to be bumpy when you're paving the road. It's not going to be a smooth pave the whole way, but that's true of anything. That's just life. But the more, what do we say, Kathy? We get through this life so much easier together than we can by ourselves. So find your anchors, find your people, and that will make the paving a little bit easier. It's not gonna prevent the bumps, but it's gonna make it a little bit easier to navigate for sure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. And I also paint a really beautiful picture about having a healthy relationship with your experiences, and I call it putting them where they belong, right? Like, and I paint this whole, I won't go, I know we're running out of time. I won't go into too much detail, but if you're interested in reading about it, it's one of my keys is about just that, is putting it where it belongs. You take it out when you're ready to talk about it, and then you put it back. And it doesn't have, you don't have to carry it every day. You don't have to carry it all the time. And it's a powerful thing.
I call it carrying it in a healthy way, and I use the comparison to the baby Bjorn. Whereas, like if you carry a baby on your hip, a 10-pound baby, after a while, a 10-pound baby gets heavy.
Yeah.
But if you carry it in a baby Bjorn, you can carry it all day and not feel it. It's kind of like
Right.
how you carry. Well, any of us should carry our stuff. It never goes away. That baby's still there. It's just in a place where it's just healthier to carry that way.
Mhm. Mhm.
So real quick before we switch gears, tell everybody where they can find your book.
Yeah, so you can visit my website, amymckiernan.com, for more information about the book and everything like that. It's available on Amazon. You could check out your local bookstore. It's also available like many other places online. So quick search and you can find it. So yeah, and I hope you do.
Awesome.
Did you say the name of it again?
Yes, it's More Than a Survivor.
Hold it up. Hold the book up.
Right here.
As I'm all bossing you around.
There it is. 8 keys to overcoming sexual assault and finding a path to living a fulfilled life, because everyone deserves that.
With the gold into the broken pieces to make it whole again. I like it.
Yes.
You can put the pieces of pottery back together and still have pottery.
I like your visual references.
So let's switch gears before we let Amy get out of here and do a little music/movie trivia. So Amy, did you come up with a question?
I did.
Okay.
Okay. So this is in reference to the Goonies movie.
Oh,
Okay. And what is the name of the pirate whose treasure the Goonies are searching for?
I'm so embarrassed to say.
this is not the first
I
Goonies
never
question
saw the
we've had.
Goonies. I never saw it. Isn't that ridiculous?
I saw it, but gosh, it was a long time ago. And
Somebody tried to stump us on that movie again before. I think they did stump us because obviously
did.
I still haven't watched it.
Oh gosh, I feel like I feel like it's there, but not really.
You're going to hear it and be like, oh,
I don't
yeah,
know.
it's One-Eyed Willie.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Once people say the answer, of course, they're like, "Oh, yeah, that's it."
No, it's nothing really.
Yeah. Once you said it, it was familiar. Go ahead, Kath.
All right. I've been trying to stay in themes lately. So mine is going to be music, but it's going to be about the Grammys. So Grammys just happened on Sunday with some very interesting outfits, I must say. But there were 2 new categories added to this year's Grammys, and I'm just curious if any of you can name one of them.
I didn't watch the Grammys.
I think one of them was something like best song for a visual presentation or something like that. And the K-pop movie won that, I think. I knew there was one new category. I didn't realize there was 2, but I don't think I knew the other one.
2 new categories. So one was best album cover.
Huh.
So now I guess you can have creative. Well, so like you've got a great creative book cover. That was an album. You might have won that, right?
Yeah.
So you can put maybe the old record albums are coming back, Jay. So that was one, and the other was best traditional country album. So really what they did was there was best country album and they split it out. So they added best traditional country album, and then they renamed best country album to
Modern country or something.
best, oh my gosh, contemporary.
Contemporary.
So there's contemporary and traditional now. So it's split.
Huh.
Those were the two categories. But anyway, I got in the weeds with the Grammys. There was so much about that I have no idea, like all the rules, and I didn't read them all. I'm just
There are
saying.
Grammys, like you can do like a stand-up comedy record, and that's a Grammy. There, like poetry, there's a Grammys for poetry.
Sure.
And just
Yeah. For just talking.
Yep.
Anyway,
so
there you go.
mine's also music, and it's funny. I've kind of always wondered this, but I'm like, okay, I'm going to use this, and I did not know the answer myself, or I'm surprised at the answers anyway. I'm on the wrong one here. Let me find it. Okay, so what song has been used the most in movies and television? In other words, what song has the most appearances within both music and movies? Because we hear songs in music and movies, television all the time. But what song? And I'll give you how many times. It's appeared 52 times.
52.
In both throughout TV and movies. I would have not. The other ones that are on the same or on further down the list, I would have gotten, but this one I would not have gotten.
I'm not good at this game, guys.
I'm gonna just say
We're
something.
wrong more than
I'm
we're
gonna
right,
say
so-
something just out there.
Yeah.
Don't laugh. Staying Alive by the Bee Gees.
No, but it's down. It's in the top 10.
Okay, I made it. Okay, I'm okay with that. I'm okay.
So the number one.
You got no guess, Amy?
I have no idea. No idea.
I would not have had a guess either, and I didn't know this myself. This Is How We Do It by Montel Jordan.
Okay.
Really? Never, ever.
Now, number 2 is Push It by Salt and Pepper.
That's a good song.
Born to Be Wild by Steppenwolf.
Hmm.
Low Rider, and then Tub Thumping by Chumbawamba. Bad to the Bone is up there. Like they might not play the whole song, but they'll play like a little for a certain scene, something,
Yeah.
But yeah, This Is How We Do It has been in 52 TV and movies.
Wild. Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that list. I would have murdered that list. Yeah.
I just thought that was cool. I had no idea myself. I'm just like, oh, it was a learning thing for me. But I'm like, I just want to throw this out as my trivia question.
There you go.
So, what has everybody been watching lately? Amy, what have you been watching lately that you've liked?
So the reason I had a Goonies question is because I have kind of a funny story about watching the Goonies with my 10-year-old daughter. So we watched it with my 10-year-old daughter, and she quickly fell in love with a young Josh Brolin. And she was absolutely distraught when she learned that not only did he have the audacity to age, but also like have kids and all that without her knowledge.
That is so
if Josh Brolin, if you ever watch this episode, how dare you? Okay.
We would love for Josh.
Yeah, that's great.
It was
I feel that way about help me, Jay. Dylan, not Dylan. Oh my gosh. In my best friend's wedding.
Oh, Dylan McDermott.
Yes. I'm like, why did you age? You're supposed to stay in like the 80s rom-com stage. How did you age? Yeah.
I'm trying to remember who else was in the Goonies that was. I know Cyndi Lauper did the music or did one of the songs for the Goonies. Who else was in that, Amy? I'm trying to remember.
Gosh. I don't. Oh man, now you're putting me on.
Can't prep all that.
Was one of the Corys, Corey Haim or Corey
Sean
Feldman?
Astin.
Oh, Sean. Oh yeah.
Corey Feldman. I'm
I
looking
thought-
it up
yeah.
because I can't. I'm horrible with names, guys. Yeah, those are like the more well-known.
So Sam from the Lord of the Rings was in it.
hmm
Oh, he was also in Stranger Things.
hmm
Wait,
He was-
what did he do in Stranger Things?
He was Winona Ryder's boyfriend for a
Yeah,
little
the
bit.
one.
Bob.
Yeah, he
Bob.
didn't. Bob.
Yeah,
Yeah, he didn't make
Sebastian,
it
yeah.
very long. Yeah,
Bob was in Goonies.
yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, one of the Coreys was in all those movies back then.
Yeah.
One of
Yeah.
the two were in all.
I was
Yeah,
so
yeah.
annoyed by that guy in those movies. I have no idea why. But, yeah.
Kathy, what are you watching?
Man, I've been a watching queen. So I'll just say this, I'll be vulnerable. I made a list. I made a watch list. It includes some of Jay's stuff that I dropped and didn't finish watching, stuff I want to watch. So that's what you do when it's cold and you don't know what else to do. So we're continually watching The Pit on HBO Max. I think it is a good show. So I'm in season 2, I think four have been out in season 2. So they only drop one a week. So I'm really struggling with that. I'm like, because we're used to let me just watch as much as I can, which is a problem. So we did that. We went back and watched a little bit of Cobra Kai because I never finished that. I'm like, I'm finishing Cobra Kai. And Dylan ditched us for that, Jay. I was so mad at him because he's like, I'm done with that. I'm not going back to it. And we watched 2 movies. So we watched the new Netflix documentary, which I called it a movie. I guess it's a documentary about the hockey team, about the
Oh,
80s.
yeah. Miracle in 1980. Yeah.
So I can't even remember what the name of it is, a documentary on Netflix, but it's about the hockey team, the United States hockey team.
Mhm.
And it was really good because all the guys the guys that were still alive, I think they lost the coach and maybe 3 guys weren't there, but the rest of them were there and sitting on their bench, doing the interviews, watching the clips. And it was so cool to see how emotional they got and knowing that we'll never experience that again. Everything's professional now. You'll never have kids that shouldn't have probably been expected to win. That was a good show. And then we rented Song Sung Blue. I don't know if either of you have watched,
I have not, but I know what it's about.
But it was one of those things where it's like that $20 rental, $19.99 rental, because I guess it's still out in some movie theaters. It did not come here locally. But we're Neil Diamond fan, or we love that music, that old music. But it was a great story. Kate Hudson's in it and Hugh Jackman, and she's got nominated for Oscar and Golden Globe. And I just was really surprised because it is just, I wanted to see it, but it surprised me, if that makes any sense. It was just a good story. And it's a true story. And these people went through something. They went through some struggles. And it's just a really good story.
Based on a true story of a Neil Diamond cover band.
And they both sang. It was really their voice. They really played instruments. And I'm like, they did such a great job. Hugh Jackman, and he's just
he can do anything, really.
He didn't get nominated for any awards like Kate Hudson did, but I thought he did amazing.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my
I'm
watching American Idol. You and I are in
the first week was fantastic. Oh, I did like last night, Kathy.
The last one?
The girl that made her own clothes.
Yes.
And sang the original. I texted you when she came on. Loved her. Loved her a lot.
They're putting good stories to last where they're real people have been.
They want you to tune into the end. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I think she is going to go really far because she's so, Amy, she wrote a song about postpartum and she named it String Cheese because she had an experience with one of her kids where she was sitting on the couch struggling and he wanted her to open her string cheese and she got frustrated. So she kind of, used how she navigated all that, and fantastic song. She had Carrie Underwood bawling. It was such a good song.
They're going to have a hard time cutting people. I think
such a really shy and sweet, like just good mannered, good natured girl. I say girl, she's probably mid-20s, Kathy, something like that.
I think she had a baby when she was 25. I don't know what she is now, but
just
good. It's good.
Just good, like good people so far. nobody that's been like really bad. Like there's some
No.
that probably don't deserve to be on, and
Like the lounge singer guy, but they sent him through. Like the whatever he
I was
was.
surprised there was the one. I can't remember if it was a guy or a girl, but they were really young, and it was a split vote.
I know. And then Lionel's been the one to break the vote. He did it twice, and they sent both of them through.
But I'm like, they just must not want to really, because remember, Carrie said, "You remind me of my son, and I don't think my son will be ready."
Yeah,
it was the country singer with the guitar. It was 15. Yeah.
What a unique voice, though.
But yeah, I mean, he was pretty good. I mean, I'd have been okay if they voted him through. But yeah, just the stories are so good. It just seems like a lot of the contestants, at least so far, are on the younger side. Mm-hmm. There are a few that were, 30s or whatever. I think they've got a maximum age. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, they might have an age limit, not like The Voice. They might have an age limit.
But
and we got the Olympics coming on Friday, right? On Super Bowl. It's a big TV week.
I'm not as big of a watcher of the Winter Olympics as I am the Summer Olympics. I love the Summer Olympics.
I like the winter. I'm a bigger winter.
I've been watching. I'm hooked on Love Island All Stars.
You and your Love Island.
They're mixing Love Islands from all over the world now, and I'm like, because I recognize these people because I've been following them all along. You ever watched Love Island at all, Amy?
I have not.
I haven't either, but
I would have never thought that I would have liked it, but I'm like so.
I wasn't expecting that to be one of the things that you were talking about.
Traitors. I love Traitors too.
I do hear people say they like that show.
It's so good because the U.S. version is celebrities like this, and Travis Kelce's mom was on there.
Yeah.
I won't give it away for those who want to watch it, but it's been so good. Speaking of Winter Olympics, there's 2 gold medal figure skaters who were on. They're still in the game.
On Love Island?
No. On Traitors. Tara Lipinski and Johnny Weir.
Oh, yeah.
They're on there, and they're best friends, and nobody else on the cast knows that they're best friends.
What?
They did that on purpose so they wouldn't kick them off for being a duo.
How do you not know that?
That's what I'm saying. There's actually have a podcast that you can watch on Hulu or on Peacock. That's the official Traitors podcast, and they're speaking to these people after that's already been recorded.
I feel like they're doing that now. Aren't they doing some podcasts after shows?
There's a podcast for all the big shows. There's a
Stranger
Things podcast. Yeah.
I have not watched Stranger Things podcast.
Yep. So I'm watching. I'll watch the episode of Traitors, and then I'll watch the podcast for that. And there's people that used to be on it from other seasons before, or the hosts, and it's actually good because they'll talk to people who've already been voted out. So they can't give away any secrets, and they'll show them like how they got eliminated, and they'll show them for the first time who the traitors are. So they're giving them the juicy tidbits like live in front of you. So that's really cool to watch too. So again, one of these shows that started in Great Britain as usual, just like a lot of those reality shows start in Great Britain and end up coming over here. It was in the UK first, and now it's in the US. So.
You gotta watch Song Songs Blue, Jay.
Yeah, I would like to watch that. I'm gonna get on that. Kathy, I can't. It's the last movie I saw in theaters. It was Wicked. That was before Thanksgiving.
Well, it's pretty bad when I've been to the movie theaters after you.
Yeah.
That last one I saw was Avatar. So, yeah.
Amy, I was every Friday there was like a 2-year period where I didn't miss not a Friday. I went every Friday evening, every Friday. That was a part of my self-care, and I loved it. And I would buy 2 tickets because I didn't want anybody sitting next to me, and the whole thing. And I would get mad because Kathy would come and want to sit next to me. I'm like, no,
it was my goal. I'm like, I'm going to sit there. I'm going to make you uncomfortable, and I'm going to sit there.
You would be 4 rows ahead of me and like yelling at me during the movie. Hey!
That's great.
See, maybe you're pivoting in your healing journey.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm streaming.
We need something good to come to theater.
I've been watching streaming instead of going to the movies. But once some of the new stuff, once it gets warm and the good movies start coming out again, I'll probably go back again and restart my every Friday because it was kind of cool just kind of knowing,
we need to tell the movies have streaming night. They need to bring the streaming in the movies.
They probably would if they had enough, to for one of the screens to be just that, whatever it was, just like they did during COVID, where you could rent out a screen and tell them whatever movie you wanted to watch, and they would play it.
So we could go, Jay, and I could sit in that seat next to you, or maybe the seat, or you keep one between us.
Yeah, I keep one between us. Kathy, see, Amy, when the movie, whatever it is, whether it's the movie or whatever, once it starts, I don't want to talk. I don't want anybody talking.
How do you know I'm going to talk? That's an assumption.
Now, let me ask you this: when you have 12 people at your house watching Stranger Things, do you guys talk during the show?
We did.
That's
One
what I'm
just
saying.
me. One just
I
me.
could not watch, but I love the castles, and I would love being there. But during TV time, I couldn't be there because I wouldn't want anybody to talk.
You got to be able to yell. It's like yelling at a sporting game. You got to yell at something and be like, why are you doing that? That's so
There has to be designated times, like after each episode, you pause and you do all your talking. Then go to the bathroom, get your snack, do all your talking. Then it's quiet time till the next episode's done. Then you talk again.
There's something fun about yelling at the TV saying, what are you doing? And then everybody's like, right? I mean, it's just like a whole group effort where you're like yelling at
I did that with Ripple, that show Ripple. I was talking to the TV screen.
Right? So when you have somebody with you that's like, I know, it's good. It's connected.
Allies.
Yeah. Allies.
See, Amy, this is how our TV watching goes every time, every Tuesday night we talk about it.
Amy, we're so strange, aren't we?
I love it. I love it. This is making my night right here.
So that's all I've watched. So I'm gonna get off here and probably watch another Love Island is due out. It's already out because it's from South Africa. So but anyway, Amy, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. You're only the second pod match person I've had on.
Mm-hmm.
And both people I've had on have been great, and I've got several more lined up coming up here. So thank you for coming on, and
thank you for having me.
Not only plugging your book, but
yes, you're lovely.
And telling your story. It's not, even at this, on a further down the line in our healing journey, it's important to kind of talk about it, and for those who may be going through it at the beginning of their journey. Need to hear it, so we appreciate that.
And she's celebrating 100 with us.
Yep, you're here for the 100th, so it's a big deal because only 7% of podcasts make it to 100 episodes. So
wow,
that's pretty cool that we've got that far. So
that's great.
Anyway, thanks again, guys, for joining us for episode 100. We hope you hang on for 100 more. Hopefully, we'll have still have some movies and stuff to talk about 100 episodes from now. So anyway, thanks for joining us. Take care, and we'll catch you next time on Eastern Shore Talk. Take care, guys.
Thanks.